3 exhibitions that are connected to the tradition and history of the Tiffany family. The 7 windows that you see behind me are windows that were rediscovered a little more than 10 years ago in a barn and in several garages of former members of a church. In 1964, the city of Cincinnati, Ohio, claimed eminent domain to create an enormous highway, and took the church, and the members of the church came together to try to acquire the windows and save them from certain damage in the course of that process. And they boxed them up and stored them for a period of nearly 50 years until they were rediscovered at the end of 1999. One of the things that Louis Comfort Tiffany became very well known for in his own time was this innovative practice of manipulating molten glass to create the unique characteristics of the art glass that he used both in his window making in the late 19th century and in the lamp making that began at the end of the 19th century and continued well into the early 20th century. So this is an exhibition called Out of the Forest Art Nouveau Lamps, and it consists of 20 Art Nouveau lamps from the period between about 1890 and 1910. It's one of the shortest windows of a formal movement of art in art history, and it's really quite remarkable. And one of the interesting things about Louis Comfort Tiffany is that in 1893, when he started manufacturing art glass on his own, he also acquired a patent from, which was called the Bray patent, and it was a patent that had been created for the production of mosaic glass lampshades. And when he purchased that patent, it gave him a corner on the market for the design and manufacture of the glass lampshades that are on display in this beautiful exhibition. After 1903, that patent expired, and a good number of competitors rose to the occasion to try to get part of that market for themselves. Many of these lamps you see examples of natural motifs. Many of them have a botanical or a floral or some kind of a fruit pattern, and those are informed by some of the philosophical premises of the arts and crafts movement and ideas about English gardens. One of the most beautiful examples is the Tiffany 10 Light Lily that we have on display here. It's a very important lamp and one that's quite rare, and one of the more interesting elements of it is that its blown glass shades are examples of Tiffany's trademarked Favrile glass, and that was a kind of art glass that Tiffany innovated. The third exhibition of this trio of Tiffany exhibitions is Tiffany & Company Arms from the Robert M. Lee collection. One element of Tiffany & Company's business was the embellishment of arms in a very very special firearms and swords, and that business arose especially as a result of the Civil War. In the 1860s, especially in the years immediately following the conclusion of the Civil War, Tiffany & Company would buy swords that had been manufactured by companies like the Ames Sword Company and embellish them as a commissioned gift for someone who had completed some kind of honor or very significant accomplishment in the Civil War. This is a really beautiful example of a new model Navy pistol, a Colt manufacturing new model Navy pistol that was manufactured in 1863 by Samuel Colt. And it's an interesting part of American history that people like Charles Louis Tiffany and Samuel Colt were close personal friends, and that eventually Samuel Colt was also a client of Charles Louis Tiffany. And he had essentially been commissioned to create a very special pair of revolvers for a man named William Mathewson. And he was a man who became known as the original Buffalo Bill.